What's up, fellas? In the second video of the day, we're going to be talking about the Milwaukee Bucks. We're spending a lot of time today talking about championships, talking about title favorites, talking about teams' odds to win the title in contenders. And I even did this myself. Those of you that watched the first video of the day, I was talking about the Nets, I was talking about should there be title favorites, all this stuff. And I went through all these teams that could be contenders, and I forgot to mention Milwaukee. And that's kind of what the point of this video is. And I can't believe I forgot to mention them, given the fact that I'm going to be kind of advocating for them here a little bit in the second video of the day. But it's basically just that. Why are we overlooking the Bucks? This is a talented team, maybe slightly below expectations to this point, but clearly still a team in possible contention. And that's what we're going to be talking about in the second video of the day. But really quickly, before we get started, if you enjoy content like this, then consider subscribing. I upload twice a day, every single day in this channel, so it's a great place for the most consistent NBA content on YouTube. If you're new here, by the way, what's up? My name is Tucker. You can also leave a like rating on the videos as well, and you can check me out at various socials and a Linktree link down in the description below. With those things said, let's talk about the Bucks. So there's this idea around Milwaukee that I think we kind of need to talk about, right? And that is that we're not really believing in them until we actually truly see it. And this is a concept that exists for a lot of teams or individual players, right? And we gave them the benefit of the doubt in the past. We got burned. And now we're in like wait and see mode. Like, you know, you kind of got to prove it before we believe it. But for some reason, we're really specific about Milwaukee on this because there are plenty of other teams that we're considering contenders and we're talking about a lot within that conversation that haven't really proven anything either. Pretty much any of them, right? With the exception of the Lakers, assuming they get fully healthy. I mean, the Nets haven't done anything. Philly's been really good this year, but not significantly better than Milwaukee, but they're consistently put into the contender category, despite the fact that they've never had a ton of postseason success, right? It's the first year with a new coach. The Nuggets obviously don't have Jamal Murray anymore, but you know they had a nice run of the bubble last year. I would say that that's a team that people take seriously. The Jazz have the best record in the league, but blew a 3-1 lead to Denver last year. I don't know why we would believe in them. Phoenix hasn't been successful in 6 years, and all of a sudden we're all in on them. I'm one of them. I think Phoenix is really good, and the Clippers fell apart in the bubble last year as well. So for some reason, we have this really specific criticism of Milwaukee, where it's like, well, they haven't had a ton of postseason success, and Giannis hasn't done this, and Giannis hasn't done that, and so as a result, we don't really talk about them. But when you compare them to the other teams that people are talking about, that argument doesn't really make a ton of sense, right? So let's talk about kind of the Bucks as a whole, their roster, things like that. So at the end of the day, assuming that Giannis is fully healthy, ready to go, this Bucks team is absolutely dangerous, and I think that we do this a lot. I'm guilty of this as well. We are really, really quick to jump on this guy doesn't have it in the postseason. This guy doesn't have it late in games type thing. And we jumped all over that, with Giannis, while forgetting that a couple of years ago, they were up 2-0 in the Eastern Conference Finals against the team that ultimately won the title. Like, that qualifies as playoff success. Like, you don't just have to get to the finals for it to qualify as playoff success. They were really, really good. And yes, the bubble was not great for Milwaukee. Granted. Absolutely, right? The Heat team caught a lot of people off guard. It was bad, all right? But this idea that it's just impossible for Milwaukee to do this, it's just a little bit odd. And again, they just have become an afterthought. And I was guilty of it in literally the video that I just recorded right before this one. Okay. So I'm not saying that you guys or anybody else are alone in this, but I just kind of want to talk about, talk out exactly why this is the case. Okay. So the Giannis thing. I don't believe in Giannis as a late game shot creator, as a perimeter creator, nearly on the same level as I do someone like Luka, for example. And that's no disrespect to Giannis's game overall. It's just a different style game. It's much more interior oriented and in transition and things like that. And just the go get me a bucket aspect of Giannis is just not on the same level as some other guys. And that's fine, but it's something that needs to be taken into consideration. I think it's one of the reasons that people kind of doubt this team at times in terms of what they could possibly do in the postseason. And again, I honestly think that's totally fair, okay? Especially when you can kind of extend that to the rest of the team and say, hey, I don't know who the late game bucket guy is, right? Drew Holiday, very good player, not someone I'm trying to isolate late in games. Chris Middleton, same thing, good mid-range score as well. But when it comes down to like, hey, we're going to get the last shot, you have Chris Middleton, we have Kyrie, KD, or James Harden, or we have Joel Embiid, it's clearly a disadvantage late in games, in my opinion, right? And so I think that idea, along with this idea that Giannis hasn't performed well in the postseason or isn't a late game guy or isn't like a true perimeter creator scorer guy like you traditionally have, is like your superstar. I think all those kind of combine to this one big thing about Milwaukee, and it's basically they're not built for the postseason, right? Coach Bud has a history of making fantastic regular season teams that don't end up winning the title, right? You can go back to the 60-win Hawks team, that Bucks team that went up 2-0 in the Eastern Conference Finals, I think won like 61 games. Like there's just a history of all these different things coming together, of not having a late game shot creator, of doubting Giannis, of not having postseason success in people's eyes, of the Coach Bud of it all, where people just don't believe in them. And I'm not even honestly saying that you're wrong. Like if you want to say that you believe in the other 6 teams more than you believe in Milwaukee, I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. I'm just advocating for them to be a part of the conversation more and for them to be talked about. They have a really, really good big three and a group of 3 guys that play well together and can really, really guard as well. I mean, Milwaukee is, when they want to be, a very, very good defensive team. Now, it's not to say that they don't have flaws, right? Like, I would like to have a better wing rotation than Dante DiVincenzo and Pat Connaughton or whatever the heck they're running out there, you know what I mean? Like, that would certainly make me feel better. And some of the options in the front court aren't that exciting all the time either. And they're certainly a more top-heavy team now when they're relying on the big 3 and, like, PJ Tucker and stuff like that. Absolutely. But you could argue that just the difference in the upgrade between going from Eric Bledsoe to Drew Holiday, despite the assets required to make that move, is a significant enough difference to make this team a real postseason threat. Drew Holiday's been a very good postseason player in the past. He can really guard, and he's not a zero on offense. Like, there are times in the past where you look at the Eric Bledsoe games and you're like, why is this guy even on the floor? And it's just been so bad. His confidence level at times, his production level at times in the postseason has really held this Bucks team back. And you could honestly look back and say that it's kind of incredible that they have had success and gone up 2-0 in the Eastern Conference Finals, even with Eric Bledsoe out there, and now with Drew Holiday in replacement of him, you could absolutely make the case that that is going to be a huge, huge positive for this group. Now, at the end of the day, in terms of where I'm ranking them within the East, I still think that I would have them 3 behind hopefully a fully healthy Brooklyn team, and then Philadelphia. And so it's kind of a roundabout way for me to say, like, I think where they are right now makes total sense, right? And it all just has to do with some of that late game stuff and how much you truly believe in them in the postseason. But it's just like, just don't forget about them, is my point. Like, don't be surprised if Milwaukee's in the Eastern Conference Finals. I feel like people are grouping them more together with like the Boston-Atlanta group than they are with the top 3 in the East, which they very clearly are and are very clearly as well contenders. Giannis did not win 2 MVPs on accident. Granted, it's a regular season award, okay? Drew Holiday did not become an All-NBA, All-Star caliber player by accident. Chris Middleton did not become an All-Star player by accident, right? And maybe the combination of those 3 guys is not as clean of a fit or doesn't always look as pretty offensively as some of the better, combinations in the league. Cool. All that's fair. But this team can guard. Rebounding stuff can be a little weird sometimes. They can shoot. And they've got a superstar in Giannis and a couple of other guys that work really, really well alongside him in a complementary role. Okay, so the Bucks are just as scary now as they have been in the past, perhaps even more scary with the Drew Holiday addition. The only thing that I think would let them down would be, 1, not having the late game shot creation of a team like Philly with Embiid or the Nets with KD, Harden, and Kyrie, and just this kind of cloud over them, you know what I mean? And this pressure over them of like, they've never done it in the postseason, let's go get them, you know what I mean? And who knows, maybe they'll have guys really step up in those, depth spots where PJ Tucker has some big games or DiVincenzo has some big games or something. And one of the scarier things in the league over the last couple of seasons is when the Bucks are making shots because they shoot them at such a high volume, it's kind of impossible to beat them. And that can still be the case in the postseason. So all I'm saying is, maybe don't consider Milwaukee a title favorite, as we talked about earlier in the day, but account for them, think about them, and don't forget about them, because they're going to be heard from at some point. They're not just going to go out in the first round. They're not just going to get swept in the second round. They're going to be heard from in this postseason, assuming that they're fully healthy, and they've got arguably one of the better, defensive groups in the league in terms of the, that big 3 of players that could possibly, do something against that Nets big 3, assuming they're fully healthy. And between them and Philly and Brooklyn, it's going to be a really interesting race to see who eventually comes out of the East, again, assuming that Brooklyn is fully healthy. And just don't forget about the Bucks, as I did, unfortunately, in the first video of the day. But yeah, That's going to be the end of the second video of the day, and I thank you guys very much for watching. Once again, my name is Tucker. If you missed any of my previous videos, then be sure to check out the boxes on screen. I upload twice a day every day on this channel, as I said in the beginning. My name is Tucker, as well as I mentioned. You can check me out at various socials. Name Linktree link down in the description below as well if you want to hang out with me outside these videos. You can leave a like rating on the videos as well if you enjoyed them. And yeah, I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your Wednesday, and I will see you all next time.